Livestream is up. Pull up YouTube. We're all doing the lesson. Everyone to do the essay, so make All right, do you guys have a live stream? We're going to start in like 1 minute. Everybody's doing a lesson. You lesson today, tomorrow I'll give you free You could say, what? What was a real life fire? What? The principal wants to know this guy. I put on this sweater and walk in and no one noticed. So, it's just time. Strobing qualification. I'm hoping. So maybe someday. Okay, guys, let's get started. As I said in the beginning, we're going to make it so our NPCs wander. This is all going to start on our NPC's blueprint. So open up your blueprint for your NPC character. Hey Alexa, play Gary Come Home. Oh, perfect time. We're just getting started. So you've got your RPG project open. This is part 7. The video is part 7. Right now, we're going to shift our development from the conversational aspects of development on our NPCs and get them to be a little bit more lifelike in space. We're going to get them to move around the world. All right. We are on our NPC blueprint. First thing you're going to do, let's make a custom event that is going to contain our wandering code. Right click. NPC blueprint is correct. Yep, you're all in your NPC blueprint. On an empty area of graph, we're going to make a custom event. Any NPC, they all have the same blueprint. So if yours is called NPC1, that's fine. It's whatever NPC that you have all the code on. Remember, you could have thousands of NPCs in the world, only one blueprint. All right, so on your NPC's graph, you right-click, you have custom event, and you name this custom event AI Wander, because it's going to be responsible for causing it to wander around the world. AI Wander. All right. Now there's a couple things we could do here. We could actually just give it a random coordinate in the world, but I'm not a big fan of that. Reason is in real life, NPCs, people, they don't just go anywhere and wander about. They usually go to points of interest. What would be nice is if we can make a point of interest that the AI can go to. Yeah, Spencer, is a question? It'd be nice if we can. It's not able to open? All right, we're moving on. We made a custom event called AI Wander. I mentioned the thing about, so just what? What's the issue now? Okay, let me take one more look.
Oh, for the big tours, you don't be able to grab. Have you ever noticed? I have one. Last thing I
All right. Let's make our point of interest. We're going to call it a waypoint. Listen up. We're going to make something called a waypoint. You'll be able to drag the waypoints into any part of your world. Drag it over by, a town well, another waypoint by, the bridge, another one by the entrance to the tavern, whatever. And these will be chosen as possible locations that the NPCs will randomly decide to go to. So it'll be very believable. Yeah. I remember those. You remember those? We did this last year. But we're going to add a little bit of a flair to it, a couple more custom options than we did last year. All right. To make our waypoint, we're just going to make it as a blueprint. Get this, it won't have any code on it. Just be a blank blueprint. Just something we can put in our world. So everybody in the front of Unreal, we're going to come back to this in a second, but in the front of Unreal, make a new blueprint by clicking Add New, Blueprint Class. Oh, not that. I did a level. Add New, Blueprint Class, Actor. We choose Actor 99% of the time. Name it Waypoint. Name it Waypoint. Actor, yep. Blueprint Class Actor. Name it Waypoint. Now drag this waypoint into your world a few times. Drag like 6 waypoints somewhere in your world. You name it waypoint. We don't open up the waypoint. We're not coding our waypoint. No code will live on the waypoint. It's basically an empty placeholder that we can look for in the world and say, hey, where are the waypoints? Send our NPC there. What's nice, too, is you as a level designer can move these waypoints around, decide, you know what, I want this area to be a possible NPC location that he might wander to. So that's what they're doing. So 6 waypoints or so. That's fine. I got like 14.
Well, last time I checked, I had like.
You want to do it. You got to do it. All right, next part. Back on your NPC code, on AI Wander, drag off of this and look up Get All Actors of Class. Get All Actors of Class. Get All Actors of Class is a really useful node. Memorize it, remember it, because what it does is it gets all of the instances of a particular blueprint type in your world. Okay, and it spits it out in the form of an array, a list, right? So that's what out actors is. It's the list of whatever you're looking for. Now, what are we looking for? So on select class, what blueprint are we looking for? Waypoint. So type in waypoint. That newly created blueprint we just made will show up. Choose waypoint. And out actors is the list that it spits out of all the waypoints in your world. And we want to get one of these waypoints and send it to our guy. Before we get it, let's drag off of the sideways triangle and get all actors of class and look up the AI move to node. Choose AI move to. AI move to is this really helpful node that will take in a character and send them to a particular destination. On AI move to, you have a bunch of settings here. The first one is pawn. Pawn means who is doing the moving. Who's moving? Well, who is moving here? NPC. Well, where are we coding this? We're coding this on the NPC, right? So this NPC, we're coding it on this NPC itself, right? So drag off pawn and look up self. Get reference to self. drag off pawn, and look up self. Now, destination is the exact coordinates of where they're going, but we want this to change. We want this to be random. So we're going to ignore the destination and instead go for target actor. And target actor is going to be one of our waypoints, which we want to randomly select. Not cast. You don't need to cast. Get all actors of class kind of already does that for you. But what you're going to do is drag off of out actors on your get all actors of class. So you drag off out actors, dragging off that array. We want to get one of the items in that list. So type in get. Choose get. It says get a copy. Yep, always get a copy. So get. And now, right now it's at 0, so it's going to get the first waypoint. But really want it to be a random waypoint, right? So let's drag off of this number, this green circle, and look up random. And what we want to do is choose random integer in range. In range. Why? So that we have a minimum and a maximum. Minimum is 0. Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. That'll be the first item on the list. But what do we put for maximum?
However many we put.
What's that?
However many waypoints we have.
However many waypoints we have. So what are we going to type in, like 12? We put in 12? 14, you put in 14? I like what he's saying. So Eduardo's got where I'm thinking. So yeah, you could put, I put 6 waypoints. I'll put 6 here. But what happens if you want to put 7 later on? You got to open up your code and change this and remember and count all your waypoints. You don't want to put infinite either, because if you put, let's say there's 6 waypoints, but the random number that shows up is 12, no waypoint. You run an error. He doesn't go anywhere, right? So we want to be able to move more waypoints, copy paste waypoints without ever additionally coding this, right? So what we want to do is just get Eduardo had it, the length of the list, and plug however many things are in the list as the maximum. That way, if you have 1,000 waypoints, the maximum number for the random integer in range will be 1,000. If you have 2 waypoints, it'll be 2. If you have 50, it'll be 50, right? So what you're going to do is drag off of out actors. And I actually want you to look up at last index is the name of the node. Last index will get the last number in that array. And plug in last index into max. Now you can have as many waypoints in your world, copy and paste them, drag new ones, delete old ones, and you'll never have an issue. There will always be a valid waypoint that's being chosen for our NPC to go to. All right, where does get going to be plugged into? Target actor. So drag from get into target actor on AI move to. Okay. On AI move to, you also have the acceptance radius. That is how far away he'll have to get for it to be considered a success. He's arrived at the location. Right now it's at 5, which means 5 centimeters. Why don't we set that to 100 so it's not so specific? And what we want to do is once he arrives at that location, let's make him wait a certain amount of seconds. Let's make it a random number of seconds before he then decides to go to the next waypoint. Again, just creating that lifelike behavior. So to make some code wait, what's the node we want to look up? I heard delay. Delay is right. So drag off of the on success node. Drag off of on success and look up delay. Just delay. Now again, we could hard code a number in here, say you must wait this number of seconds, but then all the NPCs are going to be stopping and starting at the same time. Let's do a random number. Same thing as we did before. Drag off of duration and look up random. And since this is a float, it's going to say random float. We want random float in range. Pick a minimum and a maximum. I don't care which. For me, I'm going to put minimum 1 second, maximum 10 seconds. Minimum 1, maximum 10. And once that duration, that delay has finished, we want to re-trigger the NPC to wander to the next one. So we want to recall the code we just made. Well, since it's in a custom event, we can call our custom event. So drag off of delay and look up AI wander, the name of the custom event we made. Wander, AI wander. Whatever you named it as. Yep. All right, so your code should look something like mine. Next thing I want to do, let's make these NPCs more lifelike. Right now, they would run to the location, and we want them to kind of casually walk. So let's change their movement speed to a walking level of speed. So all the movement settings are on the character movement component in the components tab on the left. Everybody click on character movement on the left. Click on character movement on the left. Yeah. The random speed? Totally, yeah. If you wanted to do it random, you would drag it onto your graph. You would set the speed. It's called walk speed, and you choose a random number in a range you like for that. All right, for character movement. I was just answering his question. I haven't done anything yet. All right, next step. Everybody following along. Character movement. In the details panel on the right, you have all the movement settings. There's a lot of them. Look up the one called walk speed. That's the speed of your character. I want you to set it to 200. Yours is going to be at 600 by default. I want you to set it to 200. That's going to be really fast. 200. If you want like believable NPCs, you want to keep them at a walking speed, something around 200. Okay, next part. Next part. Our code looks good, but nothing ever starts this code. So it's not going to run just by itself. We need to start it. So how do we start things? What event happens at the beginning of the game? Event begin play. Right click on an empty area of graph, look up event begin play. Drag off of begin play and look up the custom event we made, AI Wander. So that says, hey, once the game starts, do the AI Wander code. And since AI Wander is self-triggering, at the end of it, it triggers it itself again. It'll take care of itself from then in loop. Okay, now some AIs we're not going to want to wander. We want them to stay in place. This is really important for like quest givers and stuff. You don't want them wandering off and getting lost or getting stuck somewhere. Those are important characters. We want them to stay where they're at. So let's do this. Let's add a setting called stay in place. And if you check mark stay in place in the details panel, the NPC never moves. Sound good? We'll do that in the form of a variable. So in the details panel on the left, where it says variables, click plus variable. It's going to be a Boolean variable and name it stay in place. Yes, you open the eyeball icon. So now open the eyeball icon. That way it shows up in the details panel when we click on an NPC. Stay in place. Variable is called stay in place. You can have spaces for variables. Yeah. All right, so you've opened up the eyeball icon. That way it's public. Now, here's what we're going to do. Over by this begin play code, let's space this out a little bit. Drag stay in place onto your graph. Do get stay in place. Drag off of that and look up branch. Not ranch. Everybody thinks it's ranch. I remember Mr. Rendon's class were like, ranch? I'm like, no, branch. No, it's Boolean. Your variable is a Boolean type. Variable type is Boolean. Your variable type's the red type. It's Boolean. It's red. That means it's a true or false. It's check marked or unchecked. All right, now that you have the branch, connect your wires, drag the front of begin play to the front of branch. And are we going to drag off of true or false? True. Think about it. False. True. It just wouldn't make sense. If stay in place is check marked, do you want him to wander? No. No, you don't. But if it's unchecked, should he wander? No. Yes? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So false. Drag false into AI Wander. So see what this does is it prevents AI Wander from ever happening if stay in place is true. That way you'll be able to tell some NPCs to stay put. All right, everybody in the front of Unreal now. There's one more thing you need to do. The code won't work. Nothing will work if you don't do this. You always have to add a nav mesh. Nav mesh bounds volume. Get that from the modes panel on the left. Type in NAV in the modes panel on the left. Nav mesh bounds volume. It is a giant box. Well, you're going to make it giant. You're going to scale it up, and you're going to scale it to be as big as the whole area that the NPCs can walk around in. If you have a big landscape, don't make it as big as a landscape because you're going to make your game lag. Okay, nav mesh is a cost. Yes. Nav mesh bounds volume. That's it. NAV, nav mesh bounds volume. You get this from the modes panel on the left. You're going to scale it up so that the NPCs are inside it, the floor is inside it. Once you've done that, press P on your keyboards. You're going to see the path that it generates. P for path. It turns green. Anywhere green is an area where an NPC can move. You can do interesting things to force NPCs to go particular ways. For example, I can make a copy of this nav mesh over here. Now, they'll never be able to get to this unless I give them some nav mesh to get there. So I'm going to make like a pathway like this. And now all the NPCs are going to be forced to have to go this way if they want to get to any of the waypoints in this box. See? And they will not be able to get to the waypoints in this box over here. All right. Real quick, just a little addendum. I would like you to do this. Go back to your code, and where it says on AI move to on fail, also plug that in to AI wander. This way, if he gets told to go to a waypoint that's impossible to go to, it'll reset and he'll just look for another waypoint. So I would recommend taking on fail and plug that into AI wander like that. You could either plug it in or you could recall it, whatever. Yeah, if you've done all that, your code should work. Hit play. It's going to be in the modes panel on the left. Nav is on the modes panel on the left. All right, I got NPCs moving around.
Put it both here? Sure. Yes. Sure. Are you so sure? Why do you think it's walking, bro? Why is that not the same? Where are you going?
Homie, where are you going?
Where are you going, bro? Keep walking. Nobody told you to stop.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't do the match.
Hey, you heard him, yes, you heard him, right? Tomorrow, every day.
I got you.
We're walking. Oh, God. Why are they all going? What's their problem?
What's going on? Are they all under NTC? I just have this giant ball that keeps appearing. Well, when you make different AI, it's supposed to get more. That's why they're all.
So I'm supposed to copy it over?
Yeah. Duplicate it and then.
Yeah, because I set it to 5.
What?
You were calling.
Ah!
All right, who needs help? Yo.
What? No, it's
You got now.
Does it? Oh, wait.
Garrett.
I got it. It's like right now. It's like right
Come on, school start.
Remember, if you want NPC
Why
to
would I
stay
do
in
something
base,
like that?
have a
Why would I-
setting for that. If you need to support a check mark stay in place, the guy will
Why would I
stay.
do something that
But you
Zach,
should always
Zach,
no way.
you should never be forced to support someone like that.
No, I just think it's good.
I just like it's
Who else needs help?
I don't know why you're forced to dislike it. I'm not doing anything. Yeah, you are. You're disliking it right now.
Yeah, what if I went to the yeah, he wants that. That's against what he wants. Not against his will. He wants to. He wants it.
Trying to be a dictator.
Why are you the not in the long
Show
run?
up in the YouTube algorithm.
No, listen.
Now these
I
aren't
have a
gonna.
7,000.
So you will be hiding.
Exactly. I will have you know, you are wrong. I will have you know. The number one dislike YouTube video. Yeah, that's the reason why. That thing was pushed into that.
Yeah,
that's
an exception. YouTube made that.
Oh, now I do.
You have.
What about
There's
your
two
work?
in there.
That thing was- that thing was-
And they're just like,
Yeah. The trailer for Infinite Warfare. That was-
I've never seen the trailer for Infinite Warfare. I want to see if one of them chooses the one. No, it's just that I got subscribed to their channel.
You did what? You didn't even subscribe. You didn't see it.
I don't watch Follow Me videos, so probably.
Is that our problem?
No, is that my problem? That I haven't seen it?
Yes.
No, the game sucks, so it's good that they didn't see it. Oh, dude, what are they going to do?
Sorry, just jump off.
I have it.
I'm glad that she's glad you did.
They're all moving.
This are you people like a shadow.
Bro, this guy's going up the mountain. Oh, they're both going up the mountain? Lake's a little stressed out.
What are you doing?
They're just taking a stroll.
Mister, I'm confiscating your cinnamon roll.
Yeah, go for it.
My game, by the way.
Dude, I changed it. I changed it. But it's like half.
He didn't take it the first time.
Also enrolled in CS.
No.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
Hey, Gabe, you want to taste it?
Yeah, so are you. Okay.
Oh,
Who's fault? You're gay. Okay.
no. Who's fault?
Tomorrow, no lesson. Sound good? Yeah, no. Really? An essay. Yeah, essays for everyone.
When do we leave this by pointing at the point?
15 minutes.
We never leave that.
We've never left. Oh, shoot.